Hello, this is the Happy Families podcast. Sometimes relatives do and say things that are frankly awful and that can really, really impact our children. They can be judgmental, they can be critical, they can be lacking in compassion and perspective, and just leave our kids feeling lousy because our kids are imperfect. They've got their L plates on, and every now and again, people who aren't their parents, like elderly grandparents, for example, can just be so unkind. Today, it's a tricky question about navigating those challenging family relationships where the kids are doing their best, but they're not quite doing well enough to keep the grandparents happy. What do you do if you've got a neurodivergent child who doesn't seem to be able to live up to the expectations of grandparents who don't believe in autism or ADHD? We answer that tricky question next on today's podcast. Hello and welcome to the Happy Families podcast, where you get real parenting solutions every single day. This is Australia's most downloaded parenting podcast. We're Justin and Kylie Coulson, and every Tuesday on the podcast, we answer your tricky questions about any family matters, any wellbeing matters, pretty much whatever you want. We're an open book. Ask us anything. If you'd like to submit a tricky question, go to our website. There's a super simple system at happyfamilies.com.au where you just press the record button and start talking. Or you can send us a voice memo to podcasts@happyfamilies.com.au. Here is today's tricky question.
My name is Michelle. Thank you for providing a great podcast. My husband and I have 4 daughters. 3 of the 4 are adults, and the last is a 14-year-old. Our 14-year-old has ADHD and autism level 2. My mother lives overseas, and she came over for a visit last year, June. And sad to say, but we are still burdened by that visit. My mother knew before coming that my daughter had ADHD and autism. Our 14-year-old hadn't seen my mother in 10 years, and what was supposed to be a loving reunion ended in an overwhelming emotional dysregulation. Basically, my mother just judged my daughter on every aspect of her being. She labelled my daughter a spoiled brat who just needed a good smack. She interpreted my daughter's inability at times to socialise, especially in a large group, as rude. She interpreted her inability to show affection as cold. She attacked our parenting style as weak and giving in. She caused a major setback in the progress we had made with my daughter through OT and speech therapy. My mother refused to believe that autism was real. When I tried to explain, very patiently I might add, that neurodivergent children's minds work differently from neurotypical, and that we should support and help them negotiate life successfully with a diagnosis, she replied, "How do we fix it?" My question is, how do I move forward parenting my daughter and helping her overcome the "Nan doesn't love me" stigma because I have autism? I'd love to hear your feedback, and I appreciate you listening. Thank you.
Oh, Michelle.
Oh, my heart breaks.
Well, we've been there. We've been there in different ways and for different reasons over the years with family members who think they are trying to either teach us how to be better or help us see things with more clarity, and yet it just leaves you reeling and feeling completely and utterly unsupported.
If there was one message that I could convey to every grandparent, auntie, uncle, step parent, whoever, it would be kids don't get better when you make them feel worse.
No one gets better, whether it's kids or not.
Yeah.
No one gets better.
That's my point.
And we've talked about this a handful of times over the last few weeks on the podcast. And I go back to, what's the end goal? Do I want to be a people builder, or do I want to tear people down?
Yeah.
Like, everybody who is a parent, I don't think there is a single person who's a parent that would not at some point acknowledge that this is such a hard gig. This is like the hardest thing you'll probably ever do in life.
So I don't have data on this, but I reckon there's something generational here.
It reminds me of that quote, the past is a foreign country. They do things differently there.
Yeah, that's the opening line to L.P. Hartley's novel, The Go-Between. I think it's like early 1950s.
And I can't tell you how many times I have gone back to that when I have found myself in a position where somebody of a different generation has said something that just feels so cutting.
Suck it up, princess.
And I do. So because this is not my mum, I'm able to kind of, I guess, offer a little bit of compassion maybe towards the grandmother, because I can only imagine with a a mindset like that she was raised with that suck it up princess, she'll be right, tough nut kind of parenting style.
Yep.
And that would have probably almost certainly been the way she raised her own children.
I've got a lot of compassion for Michelle though, because she's sitting there and saying, I'm trying to teach you this though, Mum. Like, one of my favorite quotes comes from Epictetus. I'm probably going to get a little bit wrong, but Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher, said something along the lines of, it is impossible to teach a man, or it's impossible to teach someone what they think they already know. And that's not a generational thing. But in this case, when it comes to issues around neurodiversity, it often seems to rear its ugly head. People think, no, that thing doesn't exist. I've got no time for it. I've got no patience for it. I've got no perspective on it. And therefore, we're not going to be able to progress this. The kid just needs to sit down, tighten up, get some discipline, a good clip around the ear roll kind of thing.
But that's why corporal punishment was such a huge part of that generation.
Yeah.
Because there was no ability to recognise kids that were actually struggling and needed extra support instead of punishment.
So here's what I'm hearing in Michelle's question. She's saying, my daughter feels like Nan doesn't love me and there's stigma associated with what I'm carrying. My initial response just to the Nan is, people often talk about how the opposite of love is hate. I guess it could be, but in all the parenting work that I've done over the years, my sense is that the opposite of love is judgment. When a child feels judged, when a child feels like the people around them are being critical, they don't feel loved. No child ever said, oh my goodness, thanks so much for the constructive criticism, because criticism is not constructive. In a child's life, it damages the relationship, it damages self-esteem.
It's like a wrecking ball.
Yeah, it really is. And the irony is the more loved a child feels, the more likely it is that they will be open to our influence and therefore more open to change. So we need to answer the question. After the break, I have 3 things that I think are going to help Michelle and her daughter to move forward from what seems to have been the great undoing thanks to Nan's visit. Stay with us. This is the Happy Families podcast. We're back. 3 things, Kylie, that I think can help Michelle and her daughter to move forward, because things have been pretty rocky. And one of them is something that you say on the podcast quite often, and it's starting to become an internal part of my dialogue. You often say, would I seek this person's advice? And if I wouldn't, why would I listen to their criticism? There's a biological desire to be influenced by parents and grandparents. Like that's a biological imperative. And clearly, Michelle's daughter wishes she could go to her nan for advice, but she probably wouldn't go to her advice based on everything that's going on. Therefore, why would she listen to her criticism? My first thing is that could actually be a useful conversation for Michelle to have with her daughter.
There's so much nuance to this because we have no idea the relationship that's existed, but there's an acknowledgement that for 10 years there has been no physical contact.
Yeah, minimal relationship. So hard to have a relationship of trust.
And that was what I was about to say. Just when you look at the fact that we have a child who has got some really difficult challenges that she's working with, Grandma hasn't actually been in the story by the sounds of things, and therefore does not have a relationship with her. Because if she did, she would have been able to kind of work through those challenges a lot better, I believe. There's 0 relationship. So what's the end goal? Do we want a relationship with Grandma, or do we just acknowledge and recognize that it is what it is?
Yeah. And my inclination, based on the distance and based on the way there's been minimal contact for that 10 years, is that you probably go with part B rather than part A just there, or column B rather than column A.
Yeah. What's number 2?
So the second thing, I probably should have said this first, actually. I'd be sitting down with my daughter and just starting with a whole lot of empathy. I know that can sometimes sound like it's very, very soft and kind of even unproductive, but Nan's impact here has the potential to cast a long shadow through the life.
Which is so interesting when you think about, again, going back to the fact that if there's very limited relationship, how is it that we place so much value on one person's opinion or viewpoint when they have such a little impact in our lives?
Bingo. Yeah. Yeah. And so therefore a whole lot of empathy and just deconstructing that. And there's that recognition. I know you love your grandma. I know that you wish that it was different? Wouldn't it be great if? And so you're saying, here's this ideal situation. I'll give it to you in fantasy because you can't have it in reality. So let's now step back into reality and talk about where to from here.
Just before you go on to number 3, as you were talking, I just think that the next step to this is that we actually can empower our child, and in this case, Michelle's daughter, if we're able to help her reframe her thinking. So she's had this really awful experience with her grandma, and her instant go-to is, my nan doesn't love me because I'm neurodivergent. Like that's her framework. And that may be true. But is there another way that we could look at this that could equally be true and less damaging? I think there's so much power in recognizing our brain will tell us whatever it tells us, right? And
incredible
more times
storyteller.
than not, it's all lies. So why not choose something that feels better? So is it, my nan doesn't understand me. She doesn't get me.
Yes.
Is so much better than my nan doesn't love me because I am.
Right. Yes. It's shifting.
I don't have a relationship with my nan and therefore she doesn't understand who I am.
Yeah.
She doesn't get me.
Shifting it back onto her and saying, I'm not a victim here. My nan has a perspective issue and that's her problem that she's going to have to figure out, rather than I have a behavior issue or I have a whatever issue.
It's my fault.
Correct.
It's not your fault at all.
Yeah, for sure. Love it.
So what's number 3?
Oh, well, the third thing that I was going to say, I really like that you said that, is that I'd be looking to build competence. So Nan has said, how do we fix her? And I need to sort of go sideways here for a second. The neuroaffirmation model, the affirmation model that exists in psychology societies around much of the Western world now, is that we give somebody a label, in this case autism level 2 or ADHD or both, and then we say, and you are fine the way that you are, and we affirm them. Now, to some level, that's perfectly wonderful and fabulous and important. But unfortunately, I've spoken with some clinicians, some counsellors, I've spoken with some parents who therefore chafe at the idea that we would work on improving that person. In other words, the affirmation model has been taken to an extreme such that you are who you are, here is your label, here is how you are, and we are going to be satisfied with you as you are. You would never do that to a neurotypical child. You'd never do that to anybody in any circumstance. And I feel like it's patently unfair.
So the truth of the matter is you are perfectly you. Just because you exist, you're worthy of being loved. You're
Correct.
worthy of being accepted and having the best possible life afforded to you.
Yes. But then the question is, what does the best possible look like for you?
That's right.
Best possible life will look like for you. And I would be setting goals with my daughter. I'd be saying,
and everything we know about mental health is progress.
Progress, purpose,
competence,
development.
It makes all the difference.
Right. And so
regardless of...
Yeah. There'll be some people who chafe at what I've said. I want to highlight, I'm talking about people who take that affirmation model to an extreme. I don't think that's what the model was designed for, although I do have some challenges with the model. But that is an extreme that it does get taken to, and I've heard it too many times to not mention it. And so what I'd be saying to Michelle is set goals, help your daughter to develop competence, help her to chase dreams in the directions that are important to her, but also in directions that we know are going to be valuable for her to be able to do well in community, in society. That will be helpful as well.
I think what would be really helpful, Michelle, it sounds like there's been a pretty big regression as a result of this visit, is actually revisiting all of the progress that has been made.
Yes.
Paint the picture. I know that this is hard, but look at where you were 12 months ago and look at what we've achieved together in the last 12 months. We're here. We're rooting for you. We're so excited to see you, kind of grow. Progress
is so motivating, and that will be the best way to help your daughter to start to feel competent and capable and confident again, is to start to make some progress in areas that are important to her and that she can feel good about. So hopefully that answers your question, Michelle, and it's useful for you. If you have a tricky question that you'd like to hit us up with, let us know via the super simple system at happyfamilies.com.au or send us a voice note to podcasts@happyfamilies.com.au. We appreciate the sound engineering audio production that's been done by JR, Justin Rulon from Bridge Media. Mim Hammonds provides our additional support. And if you'd like more info for a happier family, you'll find it at happyfamilies.com.au.